Hey everyone, welcome back. Ready for another deep dive?
Always ready.
Awesome. So today we're tackling remote teamwork, how to really make a sing. And guess what? We've got some awesome insights to share. Straight from the pros over at Amazon's global IT teams.
Yeah, they definitely know a thing or two about making remote work, well, work.
Right. So we've been digging into this article, How to Master Remote Teamwork, Amazon's Global IT Teams by Yu Huat. And let me tell you, it is packed with gold.
Definitely some actionable stuff in there.
Totally. Okay, so Yu Huat kicks things off with this awesome quote by Phil Jackson, the legendary basketball coach. He says, "The strength of the team is each individual member. The strength of each member is the team."
Yeah, I like that. It's so true.
It really sets the tone, right? Like we always talk about teamwork, but it all starts with individual strength.
Absolutely. And that's especially important in remote teams, where people are working independently, often across different time zones and cultures.
It's like you're relying on everyone to bring their A game, even when you're not physically together. So speaking of Amazon's global IT teams, they seem to have this whole remote thing down pat. Have you ever wondered how they make it work so seamlessly, with teams spread across continents at all?
It's pretty impressive, right? Well, the article breaks it down into 5 key areas, and I think the first one is something we can all relate to, time zones.
Oh, tell me about it. The struggle is real. So Yuquat talks about asynchronous workflows. Can you unpack that a little? What does that even mean?
Yeah, so basically it's about recognizing that not everyone needs to be online at the same time to get work done. It's about moving away from that constant need for real-time communication.
Okay, so it's about creating a system where people can contribute on their own schedule.
Exactly. So think shared documents, project management boards, anything that allows people to work independently but still stay connected to the team's progress.
So it's almost like creating a virtual workspace where work is happening constantly, not just when everyone happens to be online at the same time. Are there any specific tools or platforms that you think are particularly helpful for this?
Oh, for sure. The article specifically mentions Slack and Jira, but really it's not just about the tools, it's about how you use them. It's about creating that culture of clear documentation and communication.
That makes sense. So you're anticipating needs, you're preempting problems before they even arise. Okay, but what about those times when you absolutely need to have real-time interaction? Like how do you handle meetings and stuff when you're dealing with multiple time zones?
Yeah, that's where strategic scheduling comes in. When you do need to have a meeting, it's about finding those overlapping hours that work for as many team members as possible and being mindful of those who are making sacrifices to attend.
Yeah, like no one wants to be on a call at 2 a.m.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've tackled time zones. Phew. But now let's talk about something that could be a little trickier. Cultural intelligence. I mean, it sounds like a pretty complex concept. Can you break it down for us?
So cultural intelligence is basically, it's about recognizing that people from different cultures may have different ways of working and communicating, and even perceiving things like humor.
Oh yeah, that's a big one. Like what might be considered direct feedback in one culture could be interpreted as like totally rude in another.
Right, exactly.
So how do you actually develop cultural intelligence in a remote team? Where do you even start?
Well, I think investing in some cross-cultural training is huge. There are some fantastic programs out there that can really help team members understand and appreciate different cultural perspectives.
So it's more than just being aware of the differences. It's about equipping people with the skills to actually navigate those differences.
Absolutely.
And Yuhat also talks about celebrating diversity. Like how does that tie into cultural intelligence?
Well, I think celebrating diversity goes hand in hand with creating a sense of inclusion. When team members feel valued and respected for who they are more likely to contribute their best work.
Absolutely. So that could look like, I don't know, virtual events showcasing different cultures, or even just acknowledging and respecting different holidays and customs.
Exactly. It's those little things that can make a big difference.
It's all about those personal connections, even in a virtual world. Okay, so let's move on to the more technical side of things. The article highlights tech-driven collaboration as a key ingredient for remote team success.
Oh, for sure. I mean, technology is the backbone of any successful remote team, right? It's what allows us to stay connected and productive no matter where we are. The article mentions Zoom and Trello as examples.
Yeah, those are definitely popular choices. Zoom for those all-important video calls. Got to see those faces to maintain those human connections. And Trello, well, Trello is great for project management, keeping everyone on the same page. But are there any potential downsides to relying too heavily on a specific set of tools?
Ooh, that's a great question. I think the key is to choose tools that fit your team's specific needs and workflows, right? What works for one team might not work for another. And I think it's important to stay flexible and adaptable, too. The tech landscape is constantly changing, so staying informed about new tools and trends is key.
It's like having a well-stocked toolbox. You want to have the right tool for the job, but you also need to know when to switch things up. Okay, moving right along, the next point in the article really caught my eye. Customer-centric leadership. How does that concept translate to remote teams?
Well, it's about keeping the customer at the heart of everything you do. And Amazon is, they are a prime example of a customer-centric company. And that principle extends to their remote teams too.
So even though you're not face-to-face with customers, you're still thinking about how your work impacts them.
Exactly. When every task and every decision is framed in terms of how it impacts the customer, it gives the team a shared sense of purpose.
It's like connecting those dots between individual tasks and that bigger picture of serving the customer. That makes a lot of sense. Okay, last but not least, the article dives into overcoming social distance, which I think is something a lot of remote teams really struggle with.
You're telling me it's so easy for team members to feel isolated when they are not physically together? Overcoming social distance requires a conscious effort to build those personal connections.
Absolutely. So what are some effective ways to do that?
Well, virtual coffee chats are a great way to encourage, those informal interactions, team building activities, even something as simple as a virtual game night can help foster a sense of camaraderie.
Oh, I love that. Like a little friendly competition never hurt anyone?
Right. And I think it's important for leaders to check in with their team members regularly, not just about work, but about their well-being too.
Yeah, those little gestures can make a world of difference. It's about making sure people feel seen and heard, even when they're miles apart. Now, I often find myself feeling a bit disconnected when working remotely. I'm definitely going to try incorporating these ideas into my own team.
Yeah, me too. And you know what? I think that's a fantastic takeaway from this article. The closing point, the actionable insight, is to start small. Pick one area to focus on. Maybe it's improving your communication tools, or maybe it's trying out a new virtual team building activity.
Small steps, big impact. I love that. So we've uncovered a wealth of insights today from Amazon's approach to remote teamwork. From conquering time zones to bridging cultural divides and fostering meaningful connections in a virtual world, there's a lot we can learn from their success.
Absolutely. And as we wrap up, here's a thought-provoking question for all of you listening. Now that you've learned from Amazon's approach, what one change can you make in your own remote team this week to improve collaboration and communication?
Ooh, that's a great question to ponder. Mastering remote teamwork is an ongoing journey. It's about continuous learning and adapting to the ever-evolving landscape of work. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, SCDC.